We need a certification motion, certified, only talked about those things.
A motion by Jeff Brown, seconded by
Right here.
and by unanimous vote. The board certifies to the best of each member's knowledge that only public businessmen is lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the public body. Glenn?
Aye.
Daly?
Aye.
Addison?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Brown? Aye. Harold?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Motion passed. We are out of closed meeting.
Okay, we are out of closed session. The Assets Committee. Yeah, you certified.
Can we, are we gonna take a break from there or just keep?
You can get up and move.
Oh, I certified.
Oh, okay.
That's what I need to say.
Yes, you just went out of closed session, so you need to certify that you only talked about those things that you went into closed meeting to discuss.
Okay.
He did.
I
Oh,
certified. Yeah, well, I did, I read this. Is there something else that, is this incorrect?
I think you just went out of closed, you're right, thank you. Pardon. It's language, it's different language than used to, so.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, we're good.
Okay,
Keep going, yes.
okay. We will go ahead to the Assets Committee.
My turn? Okay, so Assets Committee had a pretty busy month for our properties. A couple of changes here on the actual Asset Committee report. The Town of Front Royal request to winterize the Afton Inn was received by Assets on December 2nd. This was reviewed by myself and Jeff Brown. The basic terms of the agreement were tenable, with the exception of the two paragraphs and modified and sent back to Mr. Napier on the 4th. I did receive a notification from Mr. Napier that our terms were accepted. I have not seen a revision to that winterization agreement, but in fairness, it does take time to wrap that up. And there's also a little bit further difficulty with that, as Mr. Tiedrick alluded to today, with the costs and with the deterioration that the inn is currently going through right now. So I don't anticipate on seeing that until next week. Yes, sir.
Was there a meeting yesterday between the town and the and 2 East Main?
Not that
I just wanted to know.
They were all with me.
Okay, just wondered.
I can vouch for it.
We were in Groundhog Day at the court.
Okay, just wanted to ask.
The EDA is continuing to review various leases. We did talk about the grazing lease today. I'll review that, look at the property, and report back to the group on that. I am pleased to announce that we do have an agreement in principle and terms with the LFCC tractor trailer training lot across the parking lot here. Assets Committee feels this is a very fair transaction in which both parties will continue to benefit. I would expect to see a motion to approve this transaction during the next closed session. Happy Creek Roofing Project is underway. Yes, ma'am.
Coming out of the next closed session.
Coming out of the next closed session. Thank you very much. The Happy Creek Roofing Project is underway. Material has been dropped off. Doug, do you have anything further to add to that? Did they get started on that? Are you aware?
I'm not sure if they've started yet or not. There was a minor glitch which has been resolved with the county building permit that didn't get delivered. But we're in good shape now. The county has issued that permit. If they haven't started, it's only because of the weather, and we expect them to be done within the prescribed time period.
Okay, good. And we do have, the architect is going to be doing a site inspection on that sometime this week, I assume.
The architect is going to do site inspections as well as the manufacturer of the roofing products to ensure compliance for the warranty.
Okay, you have your pulse on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the report on the Happy Creek Roofing. East Main Street, Gretchen has been working very diligently on getting those areas cleared out, had a very nice process to follow through on that. Did you want to give a report on that for the group?
Sure. I reached out to Michelle Smeltzer, who works for the Department of Social Services. She has contacts in the community to see if we can get some of those items donated to nonprofits in the community. I've worked Tuesday and Thursday on that. I'll be meeting Monday with Michelle and another nonprofit, and I'm going to be reaching out to CCAP, Salvation Army, and Blue Ridge Hospice next week.
Okay. You think we'll have that cleared out by Christmas time?
As much as we can donate, yes. And then I talked to Brandy Rosser at the county, and whatever that's left over is trash. Second week of January, she'll order us a dumpster and a crew, and we will have it all cleared out.
Okay, excellent. Do want to thank you for your work on that. That takes the load off of Jory and myself on the asset side. So, the EDA offices at Kendrick here were discussed as it relates to roof repairs. I did personally hop up on the roof. In your packet, you do have pictures of some of the existing conditions. One of the major issues that I saw with this is that the original roof was ballasted with stone. The stone was removed when the solar panels were installed, and the solar panels are currently acting as the ballast for that roof. So if we do remove those panels in some capacity, we are going to have to reballast that roof with some type of product, whether it's a stone or a paver system, or maybe Mark has a recommendation as to something different. But that roof is not adhered to anything. It is laying there, you can see the ripples. That will add cost to the repair if and when those panels come off. So that's not good news, but that's the hard truth. Okay. Bad debts in shady accounting with community partners, known as the Town of Front Royal, continue to act in bad faith. The EDA was forced to protect county assets for their own liquidity by passing the most current GC invoice to the town for direct payment. I did see that the town opted to pay that invoice, which was the right thing to do. However, they chose to reallocate budget funding for future EDA expenditures to cover that cost. So that didn't go over very well with me. We may soon be sponsoring an introductory level class on municipal financing and understanding loan commitments for them as it relates to some of these projects. And then just to follow up on Jory, Assets did attend the RSW charrette to continue the possibility of transferring solar panels to our from our Kendrick offices. We did have representatives from Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, the EDA, Warren County, and Mosley Architects, and Concentric Solar. We anticipate having another report sometime in January on that.
Do we need to give them a deadline?
Give you a deadline.
The regional.
We did,
Yes.
Okay.
we did give them a deadline.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Just a question.
And then, so that really wraps up the formal assets committee report. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
or
so to be
comments?
clear about the police station, so at this point in time, they are completely paid out in terms of what they owe.
The GC is, from my understanding, the GC is whole on any invoices that they have submitted. 99% of them were paid by the EDA through EDA funding. The last invoice was allocated funding through the town. Whether they've actually cut that check, I don't know.
But the contract was with the town.
So that was going to be my next question. Did we ever determine who actually held the contract?
They hold the contract.
They hold it.
They hold the contract and the lien, and we hold the note with no lien rates.
So what remains then? Is it just, what's the balance on the?
There's a punch out on there, Mark, and that's probably about, off the top of my head, I think I saw a number maybe remaining about 200,000.
So it's retainage, basically.
That is correct.
Do you have any idea what the ballast cost, depending on what they are? Have you had a ballpark for that?
Great question. I asked Doug to contact the roofer and the roofers that are dealing with Happy Creek to get us a price on a square foot or cubic foot basis for the ballast.
I got a second roofer, it's also going to give us a quote as well.
We don't have that. We don't have anything yet, but it's in the process. Anything else on assets? Okay. I did make a motion to make a public statement regarding the town of Front Royal and the status for the Front Royal Police Department and other assets that they are having. Josh, and you can have that. So I call this the Town of Front Royal's charade of partnership. To no surprise, the Town of Front Royal continues on with their charade of partnership to the public, but acts in a less than honest, non-transparent, and foolish manner with the money belonging to the citizens of both Front Royal and Warren County. The first charade of partnership was the EDA Summit, requested by the town with the county and the EDA, which was a complete and total failure, resulting in nothing. The foolishness of anyone thinking the town and county would join forces in battling and uncovering unprecedented corruption when the town itself was abusing the court system as a hedge against possible wrongdoings without any real measurable damages that equates to their $15 million claim. To this date, and by result of Front Royal's own actions and delay in court proceedings 3 times, the EDA has not received a bill of particulars detailing the substantiation of their claim. This has been occurring for the past 6 months. I asked the town on when the circus is going to end. The second charade of partnership was the EDA Reform Committee, which was quickly suspended after the dubious charges were levied against the entire Board of Supervisors and select past and current EDA board members. Again, this attempt resulted in nothing but a charade of cooperation between 3 public and quasi-public administrations with no measurable outcome or joint resolution. The third charade of partnership was the town using the EDA for a financing tool provided under the good faith and credit of Warren County to fully fund and pay for the construction of the town of Front Royal's new state-of-the-art police station, amongst other municipal projects including Leach's Run, Parkway, and the West Main Extension. The transaction was ultimately executed and managed in good faith, sans the final payment due to the general contractor, resulting from Front Royal's ambiguous claims of damages stated in their lawsuit. Town administration has acted in bad faith with regard to undisputed payments, refusing to pay, much more even acknowledge the undisputed amounts that are owed. Furthermore, the town has again showed their bad faith through their intent of non-payment of monies due to the EDA by their internal reclassification of budget monies owed to the EDA by other debt services. The fourth parade of partnership. The town of Front Royal has now publicly proclaimed they intend on wasting taxpayer monies in attempting to form their own EDA. This will require a state code change and intense lobbying of the Virginia General Assembly. I want to remind the public and the town of Front Royal, leadership has virtually gotten unscathed in this transaction. Town leadership was repeatedly warned by the citizenry and their own board members of the irregularities of the EDA in which they were enjoying the benefits without any accountability. Council members were pitted against each other. Council publicly shamed members of the citizen speakers and exchanged emails basically telling one councilwoman to shut up. They were tired of the story. One former town council member chastised the public for potentially scaring away IT Federal, and then publicly wrote about his admiration and support for the former executive director of the EDA shortly after her resignation. Today, I see many of these same council members currently on the board. They may have changed seats, but they are still all there. The current interim town manager makes more headlines for his disclosures, non-disclosures, his employment contract, and let's not forget the attempt at gagging the press with the proposition of having a new communications plan in place. The town of Front Royal also has difficulty in understanding basic financial concepts and processes and procedures as it relates to acceptance and verification of $10 million loans backed by your tax money. This is an example of Front Royal's loan commitment process. I want everybody to take a look at this. This is what they used to approve your loans for up to $10 million. This is what the rest of the world uses. This is an actual loan commitment. I wish somebody, maybe from the press, would send this information off to our state legislatures, maybe Weber or Obenshain, so they can really see exactly what the town of Front Royal is planning on doing with your tax money. The fifth charade of partnership. The town of Front Royal continues to shaft their own citizens under the guise of protecting them from possible unnamed EDA fraud. Keep in mind, citizens of Front Royal, you are also tax-paying members of the county. So you get hit twice. You have to pay for the town for their suit, and you have to pay for the county to defend yourselves from your very own government that was used to pay for your town projects. In conclusion, Dr. Daly and myself met with town officials prior to Thanksgiving to personally discuss some of the very same issues previously mentioned. The conversation was cordial, respectful, and collaborative. However, actions speak louder than words, and this will hold true in one major aspect. I advised town administration that relations between the town and the EDA were going to get very difficult and very uncomfortable for many people. For this reason, my future actions and presentations will be based upon fact and fact only. These will not be opinion pieces or hit jobs, but they will lay out very concisely the shortcomings that the town has demonstrated to the EDA and, more importantly, to the entire town of Front Royal. If the town attorney wants to place the entire town administration on trial, I will not wait for a court date. It will be conducted in many ways, and it will be a media campaign of truths and accountability. Merry Christmas. That's all I have.
As a comment with that, I'd like to remind the board, I believe we reflected this to the board last month at our meeting with the town. Mr. Harold and I we discussed the police station and payments, and it was noted that there's no dispute, there's no confusion or anything else on the amount that was paid for that building that the town owes for that building. Now, we can talk about whether there was a 1.5% interest rate, which was thought of, but was never committed to by anyone that I can find, or the rate was 3.75, which is what the EDA has paid for that money. We can talk about that as a discussion point, but there's no dispute and no confusion about who has paid the bill for that building and who owes the money for that building.
The
Yes, sir.
3.75, I think, to be correct, was paid about roughly 3 months.
3 or 4 months.
And then it was
And
dropped to 3%.
Yes,
So
sir.
it wasn't
Correct.
totally through
It
that.
was 3-4 months of 3.75, and then it dropped to 3, I believe, for the remainder of the term, and that's the current rate.
And that was billed, and that has been billed properly
It has been
to
billed.
the town. They have the bill, and I believe it was current through November, or is it October, the last bill that was sent? October, so they have the total amount with the correct percentages.
Please make sure the bill is updated through November, since we are now into December, so they have a new bill. So, any other comments? Assets Committee, is there anything to discuss with 404 Fairground, or just going to approve it?
Well, so we do have a contract on 404 Fairgrounds Road. I did have to go out there. I did meet with the purchaser and the realtor immediately following last month's meeting. There was an additional issue associated with the property. The property has foundation damage to it. It's been repaired, it's been properly repaired, had engineering drawings approved by the county. It was close to 20 years ago.
1998?
But there is also identified some other possible issues associated with the property. Assets Committee felt that this was a favorable contract for us as we propose on approving it. We paid a very small amount for the project, I think $119,000.
For the building?
No, yeah, for Fairgrounds.
141.
Thank you. So we paid $141,500 for it many years ago from Family Dollar. It's a small industrial lot. It has a residential structure on it. So for industry to come in and use that small lot is very remote. And not only that, but the residential structure kind of encumbers that because it's not a commercial building. So the opportunity to find the right purchaser for that, the market is very, very narrow for that. So based upon those points, the valuation, the return on our investment, and the fact that we would like to remove this from our books, The Assets Committee is recommending the approval of the agreement with the revised purchase price and terms that we have discussed.
So that is a motion?
I would make a motion.
What is the revised purchase price?
It's 330.
335, 257.
335,257.
That's it.
Yes, it is.
There's a copy of this in everyone's packet at the closed session.
The language, what the board has indicated they agreed to, this is the same as that, but that's the final price. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
You want to give that to Mark if he was on the side?
And this was discussed individually with the board members, but I feel we need board approval of this actual agreement. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, same sign. Opposed, same sign. All in favor? This is unanimous. So that's done.
I'll just need you to stick around.
I will sign.
Do some initial. Yes. Thank you, sir.
And motion to authorize an appraisal at 1325 Progress Drive.
Mr. Chairman, we have, well, I guess we'll talk about that in the discussion. So I would make a motion to engage with appraisal on
1325 Progress Drive.
thank you, for 1325 Progress Drive.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
So we have an opportunity that we need to evaluate the value of this property without saying too much more beyond that.
We need to have a price.
So we need to have a price. We need to understand what it is. This property was purchased many years ago by the EDA. It's been a good investment. It is probably coming upon its useful life for the EDA. We want to consider repositioning this property, possibly. We want to evaluate all of the options, but we need to understand the baseline that we're working on as far as the market is concerned.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. We will table 2 East Main until after the closed session.
Perfect.
And then we have a motion to approve the MOU with Lord Fairfax Community College for the use of the parking lot across the street for the tractor trailer drivers.
Have they agreed to the language change that I sent you
On the MOU,
on the MOU? Yeah.
the LFC.
I mean, we can approve sending what we concurred
That's
with
what we need to do.
to them,
Okay.
but it's not ready to execute because
It's
they're
not
gonna
ready to
have to
sign,
review
so-
it.
I think we can talk about the terms though. There's no, we're talking the discussion point.
Maybe also add
So hold
to,
that until after closed meeting. Is that what
I would do that.
And we can go ahead and do it.
you're- So it's to send the draft MOU,
Yeah,
is that the package?
so it's not to accept, it's to send.
To LFCC.
maybe also
accept,
Yeah, just,
to closed session.
Not yet, because we're in the middle of this motion to approve this. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
So we're making a motion, we have a motion and a second here to approve sending the draft.
We don't have a second.
You don't have a second, I need a second.
Second.
So we have a second.
No, I think,
To send the draft.
okay, you started with the accepted, so we
Sharon corrected us.
corrected it, so we need a motion and
To
a
send the
second.
draft
To send the draft to LFC.
I will move the motion, so.
and a second. Second.
Second.
Yeah, second. Discussion.
So this is a big win for everybody, for the community and for the EDA. The Lord Fairfax has been utilizing that cross parking lot for tractor trailer training facility for some time. They produce 100 and some drivers per session.
180 to 200 graduates on average per year.
Okay. So that's a great benefit to the economy and the industry as a whole. We failed to locate an existing memorandum of understanding with them, so we decided to go ahead and draft one up for them, where they sent one over and then we modified it. It's very difficult to evaluate what the lease is on that, given the fact that they're a state institution and we don't have any higher uses for that property right now. So what we agreed to was a 90-day kick-out clause in the event that we want to reposition that project. They're going to give us advertising, the EDA advertising consideration in their workforce housing programs, their flyers, their websites, and so forth. And we are getting 2 partnership signs to be placed on the lot, to be fabricated, designed and fabricated by them, and we will handle the permitting for that, and they will have that installed.
Any other?
I would just a little bit more about the benefit of the training facility. So a lot of the companies here, and I believe they said the town of Front Royal has hired some of their graduates, and their graduates on average see a 40% increase in their salary after going through their program. And the truckers that get over the road jobs going long distances make in the $80,000 range. So CDL truck drivers are in great demand right now, especially with the booming economy and the low unemployment rate. So it's a very valuable and welcome partnership that we have.
Yeah, we've just formalized it, and we're getting something out of it.
They're a great partner.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. I think that's everything for Assets Committee.
That is correct. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Executive Director's report.
Okay, under financial management, as you know, we've submitted the bulk of our proposed adjusted journal entries to Galentine Barber for their work on our FY18 audit. I've reached out to Galentine Barber and asked for a time frame for completion, and I haven't heard back from them yet, so I'll continue to contact them and try to get some communication there. We have developed, working with Jory and Tom and our accountants, we've developed an income and expense sheet for the first quarter of 2020, which we are now working to update to add the October financials. We're also working on a proposed budget, as Jory mentioned, for calendar year 2020 and fiscal year 2021 that we would need to continue operations. I've got a worksheet here of what our account balances are, and what Jory and I are doing is we're identifying future revenues that we know we can count on that are going to come in before December 31st, and then our expenses that are going out the door before December 31st, and we're trying to get down to what our total cash is going to be at the beginning of the year, so when we go to present to the Board of Supervisors, we'll have it down to the penny as much as we can as to where we're at that time, and then projecting forward based on our expenses and obligations that we know of, we'll be able to give them a good idea of what the budget would look like for continued operations. So I've also reached out to do some work with banks and some state entities as to what possible refinancing and restructuring of our debt that we might be able to pull off to enjoy better cash flow. With the banks, we're going to have the FY18 audit in place, and they're going to have a firm commitment on what our ability to repay any refinance loans would look like. So I think that, we're at a point where we're going to need to have those discussions with the Board of Supervisors to understand what our future cash flow is going to look like, so that we'll then be able to go back to the table with some of these folks to talk about restructuring. We do have a great deal of collateral in the combined loan. We have about $5 million more in collateral than what the loan balance is. It'd be nice to be able to utilize that collateral and spread it across some of our other debts to get better situation. But that's all things we'll have to tackle in the future. As far as prospects, I can discuss in more detail in closed session, but we do have a strong prospect for the Baugh Drive building. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank the Randolph Macon Academy. They sent their students out on Tuesday that are in their drone program, and they brought 2 drones with them that were just fabulous. They flew the building, they scanned it, and they have provided us with pictures and videos that will be useful not only for our current prospect, as they wanted some shots of the roof to see the condition it's in, but if we do need to market the building any further in the future, we're going to have some incredible video that we can use not only on the State Development's website, but on CoStar and LoopNet. And they also created a 3D model that shows the topography and even the health of the plant life, if you can believe that, on the site. They are interested in more partnerships with us to fly our vacant parcels at Stevens, the 23 and 53 acre lot. Again, they'll be able to give us a 3D topography there, not that there is a lot of topography on those lots. And I'm working on trying to get them into the Virginia Inland Port to see if they can fly that. I think that would be really interesting for the students, and it might also provide some valuable video and data for Virginia Inland Port as well. So it's just nice to have that kind of partnership going on. The industry roundtable meeting, we'll hold our second one on December the 19th of 2019. We've had good response from the industry, so hopefully we'll have a good crowd there.
Question, not to interrupt, a question for Sharon real quickly. If 3 members of the EDA attend the roundtable, do we have to have it as a meeting? We're not speaking, we're not having a meeting, we're just attending. It's an industry meeting.
What I would do is just announce it right now when the roundtable is, and then you've covered it.
Okay, there's an industry roundtable.
Right, and
I mean, you
and
still
I
have
would
all the
say-
obligations if you're actually do a meeting there.
No, we're not
do
gonna have
other
a
things.
meeting.
But if you're just going, just make the announcements on the record.
So if any of you can attend, let Doug know, but it's not a EDA meeting.
Right, this is, the main purpose of this is to provide a candid forum for business people to talk about any issues they may have on the local or state level. So it's meant to be kind of a candid forum in that regard, but we certainly do want to have, some of our board members there, board of supervisors, so that, they too can interact with these folks and have better communications. The website, I've been working with Jeff and Queen Consulting, and depending on what happens with our future financial situation, we certainly plan to go forward and have a new website up and running within the first quarter of 2020. Leech Run Parkway, Branch Civil has been on site. They've installed sod in the northern end of the project and at the bioretention pond at the corner of Leech Run and John Marshall, as well as having done some grading work there. It is highly unlikely the sod will be established well enough to satisfy the Department of Environmental Quality to sign off on our permit, so we will have to wait till spring to officially close the project. And the same goes, I am told, sir?
No, go ahead.
Oh, the same goes, I am told, by the engineers for the police department. The police department's grass is growing better than the grass on Leech Run, and they're not going to get signed off on until the spring either, so that permit will be open.
Have we asked DEQ to take a look out there just for a preliminary review of what was done?
Right, yes, so Carl Schaefer with Benoni has been in touch with get DEQ. I don't know if he's came up and laid eyes on the grass work that's been done out there, but based on pictures and so forth of the project, I was told by Carl that it's unlikely we're going to get a sign off this fall.
No, I understand we won't get the sign off. What I meant is, has DEQ looked at it or looked at the pictures to be able to say this looks like it's going to meet if it works? What I don't want them to do is to come back like they did last spring and say, well, these things were left out and it doesn't work. And they at least give us a preliminary, not approval.
Right.
Preliminary to say, yeah, it looks like you've done the right work.
I can talk to Carl about that. I know they've been in close communication. I'm not sure exactly what they've talked about as it relates to that, but I can certainly get an update for you on that.
Thank you.
The VEDP site characterization project, we've received the final report on our sites. We've gotten reports on the Avtex site, the Front Royal Warren County Industrial Park, the Happy Creek Technology Park, and Stevens. The Stevens Park scored extremely well, and it has the lowest amount of cost to increase the tier ranking from a 2 to a 4. Having the infrastructure in place already is a great help, and all of our sites have the infrastructure in place already. That's the main cost. What we need to do is just backfill, that's my term, with the due diligence work, the phase 1 environmental. The Alta surveys are the biggest cost. At Stevens, we have a 23 and a 53 acre parcel. So those costs would be less than the 117 acres out here or the 149 at Happy Creek. So depending on our budget going forward, we could have a very, relatively speaking, small investment, and we could jump Stevens from a 2 to a 4. Of the 466 sites that EDP evaluated that have at least 25 contiguous acres more around the state, 90% of the sites are currently at a tier 2, which is where Stevens, well, it's where all of our parks are, except for the 2 parcels in Happy Creek that we're getting zoned to industrial. So I won't go into much more there, but I've submitted, we do need to work with the town and VEDP. There's some missing information on the electrical capacities at Happy Creek and the Front Royal Warren County Industrial Park, and I'm confident we can get that and increase our site selection scores at each of those a little more. Business retention over the last month, I've met with several more of our existing businesses, and I'm glad to report we haven't had any companies say that they're having any problems or struggles other than finding employees, which is kind of what you want to hear in a way, because it means the economy is doing well and unemployment is low. But in order to help them, we've engaged with the State Development Office, Lord Fairfax Community College, and others to try to help them find the recruiting and training resources that they need. But we do have several of our existing businesses that are considering expansion plans, and you can bet we're on that with state and local incentives and other resources to try to help them in that regard. And then a couple we're going to be in competition with other states because they have locations there where their expansions could conceivably go. So I'll leave it at that.
Questions?
I have a couple comments. Doug and I went to the VEP conference, and particularly about the tiers, and it's a tremendous competitive advantage to have at least a tier 4. And so, like you said, we really need to work on getting everything up close to that or better even if we can. The second thing is, I know you're working with Lord Fairfax as far as workforce. The high school has technical programs, and specifically one particularly that stands out to me. I know a couple of years ago they had certification for welders, and these guys out of high school were getting like $20,000 bonus and $80,000 a year salary. That was 2 years ago. They do not have plumbing and HVAC, and I wonder if we could look into that somehow and see if we can assist in maybe getting those programs up in the future, because there's tremendous demand for trades, for those trades. I mean, they have electrical and they have welding and carpentry, I think, but they don't have those 2 areas which there's a shortage of.
All right, and Blue Ridge Technical College here in town, I had a tour with them when I first started here. They've got a welding program. I think AG Lasers has used some of their folks, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, there's a great demand for welders in all the trades. And I did want to mention one other thing as it relates to the site characterization process. I would just want to let the public know that we've invested, or we are going to invest around $40,000 in increasing the tier ranking of Happy Creek National Park, and that's in town. And we've been working with the town to get that data and so forth. So I hear sometimes that I've heard the premise that we're just concentrating on our properties outside of town, but we are putting a great deal of our efforts into working with companies here in Front Royal, as well as increasing the competitiveness of the properties that we own that are in the municipal limits.
I think that's important to note, because it's misinformation that was published about, it wasn't necessarily misquoted, but that the town, one of the reasons for having their own EDA was that we were favoring outside of town stuff. And I've been here for 2 years, and there's not been any favoritism. It's been more stuff done in town than outside of town, in my opinion.
So it wasn't fake news, it was false information being put out
Put
to
out by the town, right? It wasn't that the press misrepresented.
false on the orientation of it.
Exactly.
Mr. Chair, just a quick thing. I would like to suggest that at some point we consider a resolution to the Randolph Macon drone group. High schools, it's neat to get that kind of recognition of the fact that they're doing stuff that's very beneficial and you know, potentially a job that they could move into this stuff.
Would you like to move that as a resolution?
I will move that as a resolution.
Sure, second.
Discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous. Any other director comments before we go to closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I have to leave, I've got to stop. I can be in Winchester in 40 minutes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we have just a brief recess before closing
Yes,
meeting so that we can look at whether we've got everything covered?
Before we leave the session?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that's just consultation with legal counsel. That's what I think it's going to be.
You know what it is.
Yeah, I know. I think that's what I call. That's the title.
It's just a present from the EDA.
We are out of closed session.
Is there a motion?
Yes, we have two motions. First motion is to return the police department funds that the EDA has in the United Draw, subject to approval by the EDA attorney.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is unanimous.
We have another motion to authorize the chair to take the next steps on Afton Inn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. The notice, motion to terminate the lease purchase agreement between the EDA and 2 East Main for the property known as the Afton Inn will be deferred until the January agenda. Are there other items to come before the commission? So the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I will note, I think